Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening to the people here on Nevis, those in St. Kitts, those who are listening throughout the Caribbean. Good evening to our friends and family in the United States and Canada, those who are in the United Kingdom, and those who are even farther afield in places like Taiwan and elsewhere, who tune in regularly to On the Mark. This is Mark Brantley, and I am delighted to welcome you to another edition of this show. I have not been here for some time because travel has taken me to far-flung places, and I'll get to that in a moment because, as always, I like to report on what I do. I say good evening to all, good evening to the beautiful people here on the island of Nevis. Whatever you might be doing, if you're tuned into the show tonight, I welcome you, and we look forward to a good discussion. On the Mark has been a staple now on a Wednesday evening from 8 to 10 for nearly 15 years. And we're delighted that we can continue to do this through the kind sponsorship over all those years of the law firm of Daniel Brantley. I thank them for their contribution and their continued commitment to allowing us this platform to keep freedom of speech alive. And of course, we know that freedom of speech, freedom of expression is a central pillar of any democracy. On this show, unlike others, all shades of public opinion are not only invited but welcomed, accepted. I may not agree with you, and of course you may not agree with me, but that is what we call democracy. Not everybody will agree. What I always say, however, is that we can disagree without being disagreeable. And so I continue to maintain that the people of Nevis and St. Kitts, people of the Caribbean, that we have standards and that we can maintain those standards, and even where we disagree and disagree strongly, we can still have a civil discourse. And so the standard that we've set here is consistent with the standard at VON Radio, where we say only the best will do. When the lines are open, which they will be at some point this evening, I will urge you to call, make your point as forcefully as you wish to make it, but at the end of the day, let us respect each other, and let us respect the medium that has been kindly provided to us by VON Radio, and let us respect ourselves and what we are seeking to do here, which is to generate meaningful discussion which at the end of the day enriches all of us. Let me start the show this evening by sending greetings to my dear friend Hyacinth Stanley, who's in the United States. Hyacinth, I'm told that you were not doing so well. I pray that you're hearing my voice and that your spirit will be lifted. Please know that we're all praying for you and that we wish you a speedy recovery. Let me also at the same time express to you and the family my condolences on the loss of your granddaughter, and to hope that the prayers of the multitude will comfort you and your family in this difficult time for you. Let me also, of course, extend condolences to my brother Dion Pemberton, my brother Fess, and all the other family members. They have lost some loved ones, including, unfortunately, one of their loved ones who was killed in the line of duty, a police officer in Texas. And I would want to extend condolences. The irony is that I saw the report on CNN of this ambush of 3 police officers in Texas, and I saw the names, and it never dawned on me that one of them was of Nivision stock. And so I send condolences to the entire family and to let them know that they're in our prayers. I'm told they lost 2 other close members of the family in rapid succession. That, of course, to lose 3 people in one family, all very close-knit, in a very short period of time is simply tragic. And so, Fess, Dion, and all the other family members, you're in our prayers and our thoughts, and we express our condolences to you and to the entire family. For anyone out there who's in hospital, for anyone who is afflicted in some way, affected by COVID-19, suffering in some way, please, I extend my warmest thoughts to you and my prayers for speedy recovery. For those who might be celebrating something, I may not be aware because, of course, I can only speak to what people inform me of when I come on the show. But nevertheless, I would like to wish you all the very best and hope that you have a happy celebration. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we continue, of course, our drive to vaccinate our people against this dreaded COVID-19 virus. We now have the FDA-approved Pfizer vaccine available in St. Kitts and Nevis, available on the island of Nevis at all of our health centers. And we continue to invite our people, particularly our youth who are 12 and over, with the consent, of course, of their parents, to get vaccinated. The island of Nevis has lagged behind our sister island of St. Kitts in terms of vaccination, and I believe that it is high time that we get our numbers to where they need to be, and that we get our people vaccinated, and therefore protect them, protect each other, protect ourselves, protect our island, and ensure that we give ourselves a fighting chance against COVID. We have been talking about COVID for a very long time now, it seems. It's been nigh 2 years. I recall that we got our first case, I believe, was in March of 2020. So March of next year would make 2 full years that we have been affected by this dreaded disease and pandemic. And we have gone through every iteration. We held the line very, very well initially, and then unfortunately it got away. And so we are now just over 2,500 cases of COVID in St. Kitts and Nevis. The majority, thank God, recovered, but unfortunately 21 deaths. So 21 of our people have been lost to COVID. I well recall fondly a time when we had no deaths, and that COVID was very firmly under control. It got away from us as it has got away almost everywhere in the world, and unfortunately 21 of our people have perished. I continue to urge our people to do what is right and to be responsible, to protect themselves but also to protect others. In public, to wear masks, to continue to be socially and physically distant, and to continue to wash your hands frequently with soap and water, or to use hand sanitizer. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the vaccination numbers on Nevis, as I said, are not as good as they are in St. Kitts, but nationally, when aggregated, we have finally reached just over 70% of our adult population is fully vaccinated. I want to thank all of those who fought hard, who persevered, who encouraged, who cajoled our people. And thank, of course, our people who went out and were responsible and got vaccinated. I think it's a very important initiative that has been undertaken. It's a very important journey as we continue, because while we talked about 70%, of course, we would love to have 100% of our people vaccinated, and so have our best protection against this dreaded disease. We are aware that nationally as well, some 76+% of our people have also taken the first shot. And so it means, therefore, that we're getting very close to that 80% mark, which the Prime Minister himself has set out as a satisfactory mark when we could really loosen up things in the country much more. And so we continue to work together, we continue to pray together, we continue to encourage each other to do that which is right. For those of our friends and family in the United States and Canada and the UK, I know it's getting cold. I hope that you are staying warm there. I must say that I have in recent weeks had the opportunity to travel on official business. I initially went to the United Nations in New York, where I had a number of meetings at my level of foreign minister, and was able to cap off a full week of diplomatic effort with an interview with WION, which is a major international news outlet, but which is widely followed in India. And the results of that and the response from that has been quite good. In fact, today I smiled because at Port Zante, you know that we have quite a significant Indian community, and a young man I'd never seen, as I got out of the car, he looked at me, he walked off, and then he looked back and he said, "You did a good interview on WION." And I thought to myself, you know, how interesting, because obviously I didn't know him and he didn't know me, and that is the power of media. But we had a whirlwind week of diplomatic activity when we were able to formalize diplomatic relations with Egypt, a very important country in Africa. And of course, we continued to raise the flag of St. Kitts and Nevis and continue to engage diplomatically to expand and enlarge our diplomatic footprint. My mandate as foreign minister from the cabinet really is to strengthen relationships with old friends and to build relationships with new friends. And so we have done that. In fact, I checked on the way here, and since I've been foreign minister, St. Kitts and Nevis has entered into diplomatic relations with an additional 41 countries. An additional 41 countries all across the globe. In every quarter, in every corner of the globe, we are finding new friends and building new relationships. Many of those are on the continent of Africa. And we continue to draw our country closer to Africa, to engage more closely with Africa, and to ensure that Mother Africa becomes more relevant in terms of our developmental thrust. I was also very pleased to tally, as I said before coming here, that we have added during my tenure as foreign minister an additional 31 countries where our people can now travel to without a visa. And that, by our last tally, has taken us now to 160 countries and territories across the globe that the St. Kitts Nevis passport can allow you without let or hindrance. I do know that some people say, well, I don't want to go to this place, or I don't want to go to that place. So why is Mark Brantley finding a visa waiver agreement with some country that I don't want to visit? My simple answer to you is this: you may not want to visit, but others may want to visit. But not only that, what each visa waiver does is it strengthens our passport. I have pledged as foreign minister that the St. Kitts Nevis passport will become the #1 passport in the Caribbean and Latin America. We're well on the way. Indeed, at the last check of the passport index, the only passport that stands above us now in the region is Barbados. The Barbados passport allows you to access 161 countries and territories around the world. St. Kitts and Nevis now is at 160. Some years ago, we were third behind the Bahamas. We've now overtaken the Bahamas and stand now just one country behind Barbados. I think this is a noble quest. That is a small country, in fact the smallest in the region, that we continue to have these big dreams and ambitions. And I certainly thank the Prime Minister and the Cabinet for having the confidence in me as Foreign Minister to go out and to deliver on this commitment to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. I came back from New York, where, as I said, I attended the UN, and not long after I traveled to the 60th celebration of the non-aligned movement, the forming of the non-aligned movement, and I went to Serbia, Belgrade to be precise, where the non-aligned movement all started. And this is based on something called the Bandung Principles, which basically set out the principles of self-determination, non-interference in the internal affairs of other countries, and the like. The reality is that the non-aligned movement would have emerged in order to provide some bulwark against then what was the Cold War, countries which were bent ideologically and otherwise on fighting each other. And so the non-aligned movement countries, some 120 of us, were put together, if you will, in order to deflect that, and in order to steer a path that was not aligned to one superpower or the other. Of course, the relevance has ebbed and flowed, but we thought on balance that an organization such as that, celebrating 60 years, that it was an important milestone, and that St. Kitts and Nevis should not only attend but to record and have recorded for posterity its participation. And so I was privileged to lead a delegation of 4 to Belgrade, and privileged to speak on the occasion of the 60th anniversary, so that our voice will be recorded in perpetuity as having been one of the celebrants around the table of these 120 countries that are members of the non-aligned movement. Let me say, because I recognize that unfortunately, regardless of the efforts that we make and the good work that we try to do, there are people out there who are simply bent on negativity. I was, for example, amused and bemused that in response to an interview by a son of the soil, a boy from Handlers Road and Brownhill, who grew up here, went to school here, had an opportunity, and is now Foreign Minister and Premier of Nevis, that in response to an interview that I did with an international media outlet like WION, that the response from some quarters was that I went to New York and begged the people to interview me. And I thought it was amusing and bemusing, as I said, because we all know that you can't just call up CNN and beg them to interview you. That's not the way the world works. But yet you have people, supposedly intelligent people, saying in response that I went and begged for an interview, and somehow I begged for the interview to give myself relevance. I find that rather interesting, because my view is that on any stage, at any time, all of us are ambassadors for our country. And as Foreign Minister, I'm the chief diplomat for our country, and I have the right to go and to represent our country, and to do so to the best of my ability. The proof of the pudding, they say, is in the eating, and the response, particularly from India, was overwhelmingly positive. And I think at the end of the day, that's what matters. When investors are now calling to say they did not know about us, but they're now interested in coming, they're interested in seeing. Tourists are saying they're interested in coming, they're interested in seeing. That means, ladies and gentlemen, that I am achieving that which I was charged to achieve, advancing the interests of St. Kitts and Nevis globally. And so the naysayers are always there. One of the things that I gather has been gaining some currency among the naysayers is that I somehow wasted taxpayers' money to go to Belgrade in Serbia for what I am told they're saying was an irrelevant occasion, which is the 60th anniversary of the non-aligned movement. I want to be pellucid that not one penny of taxpayers' money was spent to transport or to house myself and my colleagues in Serbia. The trip for myself as head of delegation and for 3 colleagues, 3 young diplomats, one who is positioned in Washington, D.C., the other in New York, and the other right here in Bastia, that trip was fully funded. When we say fully funded, what we mean is that it had come at no cost to the government of St. Kitts and Nevis or to the island of Nevis. So I want to be very clear. In fact, the Prime Minister has made it very clear, each budget, that we, when we travel, should seek to have funded travel rather than travel that comes at the expense of the public. And I have adhered to that most slavishly. In fact, I believe my record will show that as Foreign Minister, I have traveled the least on the government's dime. And that 9 out of 10 times when I travel, it is funded travel. I say that to say that I have one other trip that I am due to take, and that is to go to Rome in Italy for a meeting between Italy, Latin America, and Caribbean countries. This will be the 10th time that Italy is meeting with the Caribbean and Latin America, and most of the CARICOM foreign ministers will also be represented. I say again, before the naysayers get a hold of that one, that trip again comes at no cost to the taxpayers of St. Kitts and Nevis. It is fully funded travel. And I believe that it's important to be pellucid about such matters, lest the misinformation takes root and starts to infect the minds of our people. And now for those who say that these trips are irrelevant, that they serve no useful purpose, let me point out something profound that happened when I was in Serbia. When I was in Serbia, a young lady called Shaniqua Harris came to visit. I was very impressed with this young woman. She's a young lady from St. Kitts. She said to me that she has a strong family. Bess and Carla and those in Barnesgate are her close family, close relatives. And I was very impressed with Shaniqua. Why? Because here was this young woman in Belgrade, Serbia. And you know what she's doing there? She's studying. I believe she said she was studying math. She was doing a degree in math. And she was there on scholarship. Now I want that to sink in for a moment. Because for many who say, why go to these far-flung places and what's the purpose of these trips? Here's a young woman currently in Serbia studying and doing a full degree on scholarship. Put differently, she's doing it for free. And she is only the first, because she told us that she was at a place in housing for the school where there were over 120 international students, including others from the Caribbean. I believe she mentioned St. Lucia. And I was very proud of her because as a young woman, she's a trailblazer. She's going out there and making the way, pointing the way for others to follow. And I continue to say to our young people and to their parents, why go and borrow hundreds of thousands of dollars from National Bank or Development Bank or wherever when there are so many scholarships available that are not taken up? We now have scholarships to the same far-flung places, Azerbaijan. We have scholarships to Serbia, scholarships to Morocco in Africa. We have scholarships to Austria, scholarships to India. We have scholarships to places in Latin America. We have scholarships, of course, to the UK and to Canada via the OS. We have scholarships to Taiwan. We have scholarships to Cuba. There are a number of scholarships available, and my staff will say that on every engagement that I have with fellow diplomats, my first line is always, what can you do to help us in terms of training? Because education, we know, is the most and best proven method to get out of poverty. It is the way that we lift our people. And so, ladies and gentlemen, when people say, what is the purpose of all this? I point to youngsters like Shaniqua Harris in Serbia. And you know what warmed my heart is that we had dinner with her. And whilst we were having dinner, the waiter spoke and said something in Serbian, and she was able to respond. And to hear Kitishan, a citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis, chit-chatting in Serbian, young woman, taking that plunge, taking that leap, it made me extremely proud. And that is what we do, and that is what makes what we do worthwhile. I am to hope that she's the first of many. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is part and parcel of this effort called diplomacy. When we see here 2 field hospitals arrive from the United States of America, ventilators from Taiwan and the United States of America, supplies, PPE, masks, all of those that have come in, financial contributions, vaccines from India, vaccines from the United States of America, all through diplomacy. No money has changed hands, all through diplomacy. I was vaccinated with AstraZeneca. You might be vaccinated with Pfizer. The cost to you, zero. The cost to the government, zero. Why? Because those vaccines came via diplomatic efforts. Of course, if you were vaccinated with vaccines that came from COVAX facility, then those would have come at a cost. But the initial vaccines that we got were free from India, and those that we have recently received, the Pfizer vaccines from the United States, have also been free. Again, diplomacy matters. And that's what we do. So some, again, going back to the effort in Serbia, we were, while we were there, for a purpose which is to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the non-aligned movement, also engage bilaterally with other countries. I was, of course, able to engage with the Foreign Minister of Serbia. And what did I raise with him? The experiences that young Shaniqua was having, the difficulties, and how we can make things smoother, and also, of course, the need to have more of our people go to Serbia to study. Incidentally, Serbia has an excellent program for IT, computer technology, things like coding and the like. They do, and are one of the most recognized now in Europe. We had the opportunity to meet with the Foreign Minister of Sao Tome and Principe. You may well ask, what is Sao Tome and Principe? Sao Tome and Principe is a small nation in Africa, island nation just like us. We were afforded the opportunity to meet with the Foreign Minister of the State of Palestine. Not only did we meet with him, we were also afforded the opportunity to sign with him a mutual visa waiver agreement, which means that people from Palestine can now travel here for short stays without a visa, and vice versa. People from St. Kitts and Nevis can travel to Palestine without a visa. We were able to do the same with the nation of Gabon, African nation, French-speaking, where their people can now come to us without a visa, and we can now go to Gabon in Africa without a visa. We were able to sign diplomatic relations with the African nation of Burkina Faso, and also at the same time to sign visa waiver arrangements to ensure that their people can come to us and that we can go to them without let or hindrance. Burkina Faso and Gabon are, of course, African countries. Sao Tome and Principe, we have committed to signing with them, having already signed during my tenure diplomatic relations. We are committed to signing a visa waiver arrangement with them as well. That adds to the long list. Kenya, Ghana, Zambia, and so many other countries, the Gambia, that we have been able to develop relations with. Rwanda. I have done this and continue to do this. Eswatini. All of these African countries, Burkina Faso, Gabon, that we have now developed and continue to develop relations with Morocco, Senegal. All of this, ladies and gentlemen, is our effort to bring our people who are of African descent and our people who are part of the 6th region of Africa, that is the diaspora, to bring them closer home. And I believe that we are having some success at doing it. So when people say, what is this about? That is what it is about. Engaging with countries and leveraging our diplomatic status and our diplomatic efforts for the benefit of our people. So if you're walking around right now with a COVID vaccine, which is Pfizer, diplomacy. If you're studying abroad on a scholarship from any of these countries, diplomacy. If you go to that field hospital in St. Kitts and the one for Nevis, diplomacy. If you're using a ventilator at any of our hospitals across the Federation that was donated by Taiwan or by the United States of America, diplomacy. If you now need a US visa and you no longer have to go to Barbados for an interview, but you can renew your visa online when hitherto you had to travel to Barbados at tremendous expense, that is the benefit of diplomacy. If you now need a Canadian visa, and instead of having to spend money to go to Trinidad to give your biometrics, Canada has been persuaded by us to come here and collect the biometrics. That, my friends, is diplomacy. And we shall continue to engage so that our people, when they travel, wherever they choose to travel, when they close their eyes, put a blindfold on, take a dart and throw it at the map of the world, and wherever that dart lands, they say, that's where I'm going to go. I want to get to a point where wherever that dart lands, they can go there without a visa. I spoke to a Jamaican friend of mine, dear friend. He came here and he, after of course the prescribed time, got his citizenship for he and his family. He said to me, St. Kitts is so nice. He bring his granny and all to live here. And one of the things he said to me which touched me, he said the first time he traveled with his St. Kitts passport was to the UK. And he said, coming from Jamaica, where he needs a visa to go to most places, when he presented his St. Kitts passport at the counter in the UK, and the officer looked at him, stamped and said, welcome, he said he couldn't believe it. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, we do what we do. Some may take it for granted, some may say it doesn't matter. But it does matter. And I believe that St. Kitts and Nevis has been restored in terms of its reputation, in terms of the relationships that it had and had lost, that it has been restored as a respectable and respected member of the international community. Now, it's past. Let me make a segue now. We have had some local politics. We have seen that the People's Action Movement in St. Kitts, one of the coalition partners in Team Unity, has launched a young lady called Natasha Gray as a candidate in East Bastia. You will recall, of course, that the People's Action Movement had a prior candidate, Ian Pashas-Libert, who won narrowly by 4 votes in 2015 and ushered a Team Unity government into being. But after 5 years in government, unfortunately last year in 2020, he lost to a newcomer, Dr. Jeffrey Hanley, who ran on a Labour ticket. And so Mr. Libert lost that election, served just 1 term, and has been sent off to New York to act as our ambassador there to the United Nations. The People's Action Movement clearly had a choice. They could have persevered and given Mr. Libert another chance, or they could have turned in a different direction. I seek not to involve myself in their party politics, because that is a matter for Pam. But in their wisdom, they have chosen young lawyer Natasha Gray. Now, I confess I do not know this Natasha Gray, but I equally confess that I have heard only good things about her, even from people who are politically opposed to her politics, because of course she's Pam, have reached out, have congratulated, and I've heard many who have said good things about her. that she's a community person. She's well known in the community for her activism, that she is well known for her contributions to her community. And as a young woman, a young lawyer, I welcome her into the political arena and wish her well. It is always easier when one enters politics from a background of involvement in your community, where people know you, where you don't have a problem introducing yourself to people and people ask, who you be? Tell me who you be. Me never hear about you yet, me never see you yet. You see, there's some among us who have been here for many a year, and then suddenly they jump up one morning and say they're now in politics and they're politician. And it is always an uphill battle when you have not involved yourself in any way in the community before. But now, as the old people say, every two can knock. You start to jump up and wind up because you want people to notice you. When for years you sat here dormant, just like Nevis Peak, moribund and doing nothing to help anybody, not even a sweetie, you would have contributed to even a little church function. Nothing. And then you jump up now when you put on a label and you say, I'm a politician. And people must jump up with you and say, hippie hooray. And that is why I like this young Natasha Gray. I don't know her. But when I hear people give testimony to the extent of her involvement in her community of East Bastia, I said, oh, if only others who now say they're offering themselves could say the same. Because the truth be told, they cannot. They have not been here. Well, let me put it differently. They have been here, but they may as well have not been here, because their contribution to the life and times of the people of Nevis and the people of the constituency in which they now offer themselves is unknown. They have done nothing. And so when they jump up now, people are looking at them kind of cross-eyed. People are saying to, well, who you be? Where you come from? Where you been all this time? And they have a right to ask. Because as I keep saying, it is an awesome thing. Bold. Audacious. For you to ask another person to give you their vote. Because in so doing, you're saying to that person, I want you to invest your trust and confidence in me to such an extent that you put me in office. Some will say you put me in power. You know why they say in power? Because the person that you elect and put in government is given some awesome power. The power, for example, to make law, to set policy. And so, you must know them. You must have seen them. Not like some who say they don't believe in God, and the minute they announce as a politician, they're up in every church, clapping, playing, shaking the cymbal. Yeah? They want to fight the altar boy to take up the incense, the acolyte. They suddenly become a lay preacher because they're trying to fool people. One day you're in private life and you're an atheist, an agnostic, you don't believe in God. The next day you're announced as a politician and you're in everybody's church. You don't know the hymn, so your mouth just moving as you pretend to sing. That's how some of our people operate. Some have been here quiet, you don't know that they're here. All of a sudden now they're up and down. There's more green frock. I never see more green frock in Nevis. Up and down the place. Nobody's more community minded than them now. Question is, where have you been this past 20 years? What have you done? Show us a little boy or girl that you have given a little scholarship to help through school. Show us a little thing you might have sponsored in the community. What has been your involvement? And the answer keeps coming back, none, nothing. And that's why I say this young lady Gray, she has done it the right way. It's another example I could use in Eric Rohan, Evelyn. Because long before politics, they call him the mayor of Hanley's Road. Now he's the mayor of all Gingerland, some may say the mayor of all Nevis. Because I had the privilege of campaigning with him house to house, along with our brother Alexis Jeffers, over there in the great parish of St. James. And I remember, and I hope they remember too, that we went to a house and a lady came, was on the upstairs veranda. And she said, "Who's that?" And I said, "Oh, this is Mark Brantley and Alexis Jeffers of the CCM, and we just come to say hello. We're doing some house-to-house campaigning." And she said, "Oh." And then Eric, Evelyn from Henley Park, said, "Lord, look your boyfriend here, Eric." She said, "Eric who?" Eric Evelyn said, "Lord have mercy." And the whole thing turned around. The whole thing turned around. Because while she was cordial and kind to Alexis and me, she referred to Eric as her husband. And you see, that comes from years of being embedded in the community, of serving. So when you say you're running for politics, it doesn't come as a surprise. People have got to ask, who she be? Where she come from? Huh? No! People know you. And that has been the difference with people like Eric Evelyn. So ladies and gentlemen, I welcome young Miss Gray and wish her all the best. And we shall see, of course, in the fullness of time, what happens. We shall open the lines and take some calls. I believe now it is just about 20 minutes to the hour of 9 o'clock. We're here from 8 to 10. And so we should have an opportunity this evening to take as many calls as possible and to hear from you. As we wait for the phones to ring, let me just say that the Ministry of Education in Nevis is advised that they're having a very short break of just 2 days for our teachers to just recharge and refresh and come again. I know there's been some chatter because in St. Kitts they've announced a break of 5 days. And the response simply really is here in Nevis. We started school a week later than St. Kitts, if you remember. And as a consequence, the period now for the break is a bit shorter as we try to catch up and ensure that our children are offered the best education that we can offer them. Let's go to the phones now, therefore, and take some calls. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Miss Sheriff, good night.
How are you, my dear?
I miss you, but I'm glad you're back.
Thank you, thank you.
Matthew 5, verse 14 and 15. Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it on a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. May God continue to bless you and bless all of us. Sympathies going out to all who lose their loved ones. Mark, do you want to have to do what you have to do, and who feels it knows it. Mihal at a blue frock. So good night.
And the blue frock looks so good on you. That's what I like. You know, it really looks good on you. You know, as I like politics. You know, politics is an interesting. You know, it's a battle of ideas, and certainly we try to capture the attention of the public. But every once in a while, I've been preoccupied with governance, I must say. I have not paid enough attention, or let me not put it that way, I have not paid much attention to the politics in recent times. But every once in a while, I like to remind all and sundry that I am a politician and I know how to engage in that art of politics. Let me go back to the phones and take a call. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening to you.
Hello.
Yes, I'm hearing you. How are you doing?
Yes, Honorable Mark. I left a message there by the radio station to tell you I want to talk to you personal.
Okay, well, I'll try and call you when I'm done, okay?
And try and Nano. Everybody good?
Everybody's good, thank God.
When I'm calling you, I
can't take. Good. But you think machine is saying take my Brantley form something, but me can't take so long. Cause them are young people take. So you gonna call me tomorrow or so, guys?
Yes, either later or tomorrow, okay?
Yeah. I want you to do something with me too.
Okay, well, as I said, let me talk that after you. All right?
Okay.
Okay, all right, no problem.
You're all the best.
Okay, my dear. Yes, so as I was talking about, we have somebody else? Let's go back to the phone. Say, good evening, you're on the mark. No? So I was talking about the politics, you know. So the other day I took to Facebook because I think people who know me know that I'm an avid user of social media. Interestingly, you know, I got a lot of abuse for that. They called me the Facebook minister. They call me all kind of things, but you know what? Over the years, I developed that platform. Now all of them are trying to develop, and some of them are paying big money for other people to do it for them. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good night, Mr. Brantley. How are you?
I am well, thank you. Good evening to you.
Oh, yes. I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on your show. You know, last week when Flaky sister called in, his niece, and her mother said, you know, I was listening to Mark, you know, and when I hear the person talking about antibiotic and so it got into my family. And so she has been calling me ever since, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So through your program, I've been able to reconnect with my cousin. Good night, Flakes. We're praying for you. Be strong. Now, a lot of us are interested in Africa, the African countries, because sometimes people think Africa is one country. And I had to call in some names, you know, Gabon. And I am asking you, is it possible to get from these countries maybe tapes, you know? So there won't be just a name, we'll be able to see something of their culture. It will be good to have cultural exchanges. But in the meantime, is it possible for us to get, it can be shown on ZZ and on NTV? I want you to think about it.
Okay.
No, I'm serious, you know, because we have a lot of debate in St. Kitts about. We have some people, my good friend Journey, you know, he's all interested in Africa and Africa. I met a number of Africans in my traveling and whatnot. And it would be nice, because some of the places you call a while ago, I never heard of it. I would like to know what what is their custom, their culture, you know, things like that. So see if you could do it for us. Because it makes no sense we just have a relationship and we here at home don't know much about them. All right then.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And just to give a sense, I pulled up on my phone here that since I became foreign minister in 2015, and in carrying out that mandate to broaden our diplomatic footprint, we have, as I said, added some 41 countries in terms of diplomatic relations. But among those, we've added Kenya in Africa, the Gambia in Africa, Senegal, Ethiopia, Mozambique, Gabon, Eswatini, Togo, Sao Tome and Principe, Rwanda, Djibouti, Cameroon, and Egypt. So I think that we are doing quite well given the circumstances in expanding that diplomatic footprint and, of course, adding countries to our list of diplomatic partners and countries where we can travel without a visa. Let's go back to the phones. It is quarter to the hour. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Good evening, Dr. Mr. Mark Brantley the Great.
Good evening to you, my brother. How are you?
Oh, I'm good, man. We miss you, but we know that you're safe and you're coming back.
Yes.
Well, I want to also join with you and send my sympathy greetings to the police officer who got killed in the line of duty in Texas.
Yes.
Because I know it is. You mean you put your heart and your on the line for the country that you reside, and to see you're going to get cut off just like that, it's sad. Well, anyway, Brother Mark, I want to give you all the thanks in the world, and the biggest thanks in the world, for the kind of Minister of Foreign Affairs that you are. All your clock in your opening remarks, you know, you said you went to the United Nations, and, you know, you went there as the Minister of Foreign Affairs, not the Prime Minister of the Federation for Nevis, and the Prime Minister, you got the Prime Minister of the Federation for St. Kitts, and so we got two Prime Ministers. You went there as the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and you did what you're trying to do, and you were well received. So when the people them and all kind of propaganda radio stations spreading trash, garbage and rubbish. Oh, Mark Brantley up there in Washington, and why the Prime Minister had to go up and Mark Brantley up there. The Prime Minister has his job to do that he's assigned to, and you also have yours, and you are doing a great job with the responsibility that's assigned to you. Look how many countries you were able to go there and make friends with. 41?
Yes.
That is remarkable. We never had no foreign affairs minister yet perform like you. So God bless you and thank God for you. Now let me come home here, Brother Mark. You left two men here to handle your show.
Yes.
And you could have sleep, God all under the sea, and got confidence in them that they will do a great job, and they did. And I know they are capable, and they carry out their capability in doing your job. The only thing was missing from your show is your voice. But they're just like you. And now this I hear you say that all of a sudden you see a lot of green flock.
Yeah.
And who ain't in the prayers knocking timbrel, and they're atheists, they don't believe in God. Well, one thing Uncle Sally Green is doing, because, you know, with the global warming, it is said that we need to plant more trees.
Yes.
So instead of planting bush, they're planting cloth. Well, I hope the green flock them could help the situation with the global warming. Good night, Cutie, and good night, Troy Loibod and Alexis Jeffers, and Eric Evelyn, and everybody in Nevis who are great people.
All right, brother.
Thank you very much, Brother Mark.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm talking a little politics, and the phone is lighting up. So when the people call, somebody's there. Let me take this call. Then good evening, on the Mark.
Good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Yes, good evening.
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
Okay. Mr. Brantley, at the hospital, okay, you are the Minister of Health. How is it, right, that when we go to the hospital, outpatient, when we go into the outpatient, we come out, we get a paper, so we have to pay the $40, $20, whatever it is. Okay? No matter whatever, you go for your extra, you go to everything, you have to pay. Yes, I know you have to pay. But then when the doctors, I want to know if doctors and then don't get a monthly salary, because when the doctors and then operate on you, they charge you. You have to pay the doctors. So then if you got to pay the doctors, you send you for the extra, you send you for all of them, you have to pay all of them. And then when the doctor tell you to theater, you still have to pay. I don't understand it, Mr. Brantley. And then, okay, when the doctors and them come in from overseas, they come here and they use the facility at the hospital. Does they pay? Does they leave something? Does they pay to a charge for all of them things? Because when you use the theater and all in the equipment and everything, okay, what is the hospital getting back? Those are the things that are bothering me, because I want to know, well, if we there, even a little child, they go up there, you have to pay. So tell me, when the doctors and then come in, do they pay? And then, okay, you still have to pay also for who send you away from yourself. So how come you got to do all of that? And then when they're still getting a salary from the government? Enlighten me, please.
Okay, well, I think it's a good question. It is something that has, certainly since my time in government, generated some debate. The position, however, is and has been a long-standing one, that what we pay the doctors is considered to be an amount that they receive, almost as a retainer, so to speak, to ensure that their services are available for a certain number of hours and that they are available at our hospital, available to us. You take a surgeon, for example, that we would have a surgeon available to us who's a highly specialized doctor. What they argue and say is that, of course, that salary is not sufficient to sustain them or to pay for their level of expertise, and that the patient who then comes and accesses that expertise, whether it is, as you say, in theatre or elsewhere, would be charged. What we have sought to do is to try our best to keep those charges to the patient within reasonable bounds. But truth be told, there are some surgeries that are by their nature very expensive, and it is still much cheaper to have it done here than to have it done elsewhere. So really the salary that is being paid is considered a part payment, if you will, for the services, particularly the specialists, and that when they do some care of an individual which requires them to go not just on the ward but to go do surgery or something of that nature, then they pass those costs on. Of course, we have a system in place where persons are indigent, unable to pay, etc., that the government does provide some measure of assistance. But that is the current system that we have, and of course we are open to ideas to try and improve it, but that is what I would have met, and that is what continues to be in place. I would just like, however, to correct one thing, because it is a correction and at the same time not a correction. You referred to me as the Senior Minister of Health, and you are absolutely correct that I am. But I believe you know, and the public should know, that the Ministry of Health is run day to day by the Honorable Hazel Brantley Williams, who is the Junior Minister of Health, really controls the Ministry of Health. And so while I have the title of Senior Minister, she's the one who would ordinarily be the person that the government and the cabinet would turn to for answers in relation to matters in relation to health. Similarly in education, I'm also the Senior Minister of Education, but education day to day is run by the Honorable Troy Libert. And so they would clearly have a far more intimate knowledge of those ministries, because they're the ones who handle those ministries day to day. So I just wanted to clarify that in terms of how the government functions. Let's go back to the phones and take some more calls. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Yes. Good evening, Honorable Mark. Me again.
Yes.
Natasha Gray used to work with Marcel in them office. Tall Lloyd, but I'm Marcel in them office. She tall and clear.
Okay.
And very friendly.
So you're going to
got one son.
You're going to vote for her?
Yeah?
You're going to vote for her?
Yeah.
I'm going to
know, I'm boys. I can't go on your tongue.
You can't go on your tongue. All right. I hear you.
Okay, all
right, my dear. Take care.
But I couldn't get land before I tell you one hold. Okay.
All right. Take care. All right. So let's stick with the phones. The calls are coming in. So once you call in, I'll answer. Good evening. You're on the mark.
A blessed evening, my beloved African brother. How are you, the family? How Nevis, especially people over there in Butler?
Well, good evening to you. We're well, thank God. We're struggling with COVID, but I thank God and thank the medical people here. I think we've done a fairly good job, and we are in a much better place than we were a couple of weeks ago. I saw the numbers for today, and we've only had 2 cases in the Federation today. So I think that's a welcome respite from where we were when we were having 60 and 40 and thing in a day. So I think we're doing okay. The people of Butlers, I have not been there in some weeks, but I think they should be fine. We are delivering on a commitment we made there, the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, to give them, after more than 50 years, a proper road system to the village. So I am optimistic that they are doing well, and I continue to ask them to forgive us for the disruption, but it is for a good cause.
All right, brother. So
yes.
Let me just say, look, which I don't know, my paternal grandparents come out today, you know.
Yes.
I don't know them, the Busus.
Okay, yes, there are many Busus, famous Busus in Butlers.
Yes, next time I hit the rock, man, I got to come up there, you know, and deal with it. No, my beloved brother, let me commend you, man, when it comes to the ministry. of Foreign Affairs. You've been the best minister, foreign minister, St. Kitts Nevis I've seen so far, beloved. And you know what I love about you, the Pan-Africanist? The reconnection, my beloved brother, with our ancestral homeland, the African continent, and you continue doing it, beloved. I know money is scarce and everything, you know, so I'm not going to post that you're too much on the administration, but we need some embassies, brother. We need student exchanges, cultural exchanges. Why some of our people, for example, our young people can't go Ghana, spend 3-6 months, you know, go to school over there, same thing in St. Kitts Nevis. Got to reconnect. And that flight, I heard that Jamaica and I think Barbados, and they, you know, connect the flight to Ghana, because Ghana is my country and the African continent, brother. Planning to go there soon when this COVID thing settle down. But well, you can't get a flight. I'm not talking about right now, but at least once a month, you know, once every 2 weeks, whatever it is, beloved brother. We must make that great connection, man, and spread out. You know, Zimbabwe, the Republic of South Africa, other places in West Africa. Man, so keen, I know you're there, Egypt, but you know that the Arab part of the, you know, it's our continent, but you know, because of invasion and so, but that's for another time, beloved brother. But we must spread out, man. We must spread out. Some embassies, put one in East Africa, two in West Africa, Central African Republic, Southern Africa, one at least. Anyway, for a minimum of 4 embassies, 4 to 6 embassies on the African continent, beloved brother. But we must make that connection to our young people, brother, and the whole of Africa, my beloved brother. And brother, this idea, because you know I'm a Pan-Africanist, beloved, and this is not no talk thing. Beloved, what do you think about, because you come across in, you know, thinking and vision was this. I said, man, it won't be great to see that all of these countries in CARICOM and in South and Central America that is run by our people, a majority of African people, our beloved brother, got a ministry for Pan-African affairs and put a Pan-Africanist there, whether elected or appointed as a senator, and make their sister or brother the minister for Pan-African affairs. And I'm going to just be quick in this, beloved brother. That's going to be Ministry of Foreign Affairs, do what they have to do. But this Ministry for Pan-African Affairs, brother, deal, let's say, of African people, our beloved, that deal with the people directly. Pan-Africanist movement in the whole of Africa. Other parts of the Caribbean, South and Central America, in the Pacific, in Europe, especially England and France, beloved brother. I got a lot of our people there too, and Germany and all those places. You could think about it. You want to comment on it? Yeah, brother. But I would love to see that in my lifetime, beloved brother. It's up, but you know, no money kind of tight these days.
Yes.
So my brother, thanks again for hearing me. Keep up the great works, and those brothers that you have, man, you know, Troy is my favorite, but all the brothers were always there, man. Oh, the thing for you was great, beloved. So, brother, let me commend them again, and you continue to keep up the great works. And in closing, I say, brother, and I continue to say this, for me, you will be my choice to be the next Prime Minister of St. Kitts Nevis, beloved. And you know, I keep saying that. Nothing on with baby little brother Sean. But for me, beloved, if I had anything to do with it, you will be the next Prime Minister for St. Kitts Nevis. Brother, continue to keep up the great works. Pan-Africanism our purse. One love, my beloved brother.
Thank you very much, brother, and thanks for the call.
Anytime, beloved.
Yeah, one thing I'll say, you're consistent in your requests for closer relations with Africa. The idea that you floated is an excellent one. In fact, whilst I was traveling, I got a message from someone who's well known. I don't know if you'll mind me calling his name, Ras Iroy, who is of a similar thinking to you, and who indicated that it might be time for us to really organize something, to formalize something here, to engage more closely with Africa and with our people of African descent. So we'll see how that goes, but I think the idea is now flowing, and as people see a government and a minister who is committed to that government's mandate to expand our footprint. I believe, for example, as you may have known, caller, that the African Union just had its inaugural meeting with CARICOM under the joint chairmanship of Gaston Brown, Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, and Uhuru Kenyatta, President of Kenya. And I think that went extremely well. And in fact, I use that as a starting point for many of my discussions with African countries in Serbia, as we had gathered there for the Non-Aligned Movement 60th anniversary. So all of this, I think, is coming together. It's dovetailing nicely, and I see room for us to work together. Let me go back to the phones and take some more calls. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Hello, good night.
Good evening.
That's Mr. Brantley?
Yes, it is. You're on the air.
How are you? You're long time, you're Miami friend.
Oh, how are you? I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I see you on my TV, man.
Yes?
Yes, you're doing very good, as culture say.
Thank you.
And I see you on 95 too. So keep up the good works.
Thank you very much.
No amount of abusing could change nothing. All right.
All right. Thank you. Okay. So, I keep trying to get to my little political story, and people are calling, and I encourage them to continue to call. But I was talking about social media and the fact that I developed a platform over the years, and widely criticized for it. But you know, they say some of us have vision, some of us are playing chess while others are playing checkers. So it's the way it goes. But recently I put out little musings from time to time just to remind people that there is the politics, and that I know politics and I understand politics. And as I go around the highways and byways of my constituency and around Nevis generally, I keep hearing the refrain from some NRP friends of mine that they are not sure what's going on, because in some of the constituencies they have 2 CCM candidates running in the next election. And I thought that was quite an interesting take by some of them, because the truth be told, you have some individuals who are offering themselves, who have been known to be CCM supporters and strong CCM supporters up to quite recently. And I marvel at the idea that the party could be so desperate that it would take on board, and not only take on board as supporters, but take on board as standard bearers. Because when you are a candidate, you're a standard bearer for the party. People who have never spent a minute working in the party. In fact, people who have spent a lifetime working against the NRP and now offering themselves as the NRP candidate. I will leave that there for the moment, because I think that will be an interesting election, I believe. And I am confident that in those cases, that both of those CCM candidates will vote for CCM. Let me go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Mr. Brantley?
Yes, good evening.
You didn't answer the question when I said about when the doctors and them come from overseas and using the...
Oh, yes, you're right. Forgive me. The hospital does collect a fee. It's a small fee for a user fee, the theater fees, etc. And I think that if perishables are used, you know, gauze and all of the things that might be used, then the hospital does collect a fee for that. Okay. But the dominant fee, of course, for the doctor's services will go to that doctor.
Okay. Well, then do the doctor pay their contribution to the nurses, and that helps?
It depends. If there are nurses on our staff, then my understanding is that we would ordinarily pay them. but there are sometimes nurses who work with particular doctors, and I imagine that the doctors would take care of them in terms of some form of payment.
Okay, next question. You said to me, right? You said that the doctors and them feel like the salary is not much. Over $6,000 is a lot of money, Mr. Brantley. Then my point, right, is that I don't want to talk about that. I just said that. But my point is that if the doctors, look, the doctors and they still have their own personal office, and I think they should contribute to the theatre. Because if when we go to the outpatient and put the paper in our hand and we have to pay just to go into the outpatient, so it's not fair, Mr. Brantley. Look at it. I don't tell you look at it now, but look at it when you're sitting down. That's it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that. And I understand your perspective. I didn't say that the doctors said it wasn't enough. I said that, doctors are highly trained, particularly those who have specialized. And as a consequence, this is, if you will, a fee that you pay to have them available to you. And that has been the arrangement that has existed for many years. If there is a better arrangement, I would be delighted to discuss with all parties to come to that. But that I was simply trying to explain to you how the system is currently set up and how it works. And this isn't new. This wasn't done by me or my government. This is something that I met in place and has been in place for a very long time. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to On the Mark. It's 7 minutes, past the hour of 9 o'clock, and we're inviting your calls at 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Before I take the next call, let me say goodnight to my beloved aunt, Ornette, better known to us as Auntie Beatty. I know you're listening right there at 1537 Vice Avenue in the Boogie Down Bronx. Good evening to you, good evening to Trevor, good evening to the whole family, and I trust and hope that you're doing well. And good evening, of course, to Lloydie and to the whole family who's there, everybody who's there. Good evening, Sister Shanita, the entire family circle, and just up the road, good evening to Bernie and to Bones and to everybody. We have a whole family living there on Vice. So good evening to all of you. Let me go back to the phones then. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good night to the honorable Mark. Good night.
Yes, good evening to you.
Mark, I want to commend you as the foreign minister. I believe you're doing well under a unity structure. Because, Mark, let me tell you something. This country going out and getting involved with, especially in our African nation. You understand? To people to do it, to get scholarship and do to study different things. I tell you that is something great. Because we, as African, as some people say that we African, and some people don't believe in Africa, some people don't believe in photos come from Africa and these things. And there is this thing that we got to commend this government and you about, because on the other side, they only see the negative. They only see the positive things. So much good things that happen since we got COVID. We try to control it with everything that is right. We try to control this COVID. You have the premier ministers try to get your best in everything. And you get criticized, you get land-based by the gun out there. And as far as I can say, there's nothing right going on right now. But Mark, I tell you, in this little federation together, I believe that the most important thing about this country and with a government, with a unity government going forward again. I believe I want to see that. Whether you get the Prime Minister or whoever the Prime Minister, I would like to see a unity body in this country, because I believe News has taken care under this unity administration, and I want this News to continue to look after under a unity banner. Because this individual party, when they get in there, you understand? It causes a little reflection from the people, and the people then just support the party line. But with this unity government now, you're going to vote for candidates of your choice. You're going to vote for a party, you're going to vote for somebody to represent you in your constituency. And that is what we want. We want to get out of the blind political affiliate and partiness. Anyway, Brother Mark, you have a wonderful night. God bless you. Call me good night. But good to know the news.
All right, my brother, thank you very much for that. And, you know, I think you make the point. I hear people saying all the time about nothing happening. And I really wonder in Nevis if people are just deliberate, are they blind, they can't see. I mean, just to give you a sense right now, we have the Butler's Road, a major road construction underway. We are, based on the last I heard, starting to kick off in Bath, the main road. I'm going to have to check on where we are in that, but that was promised by Minister Spencer Brandon. He's a man who keeps his commitments. We have the park at Pinneys, which will be the first national park. And I told somebody up to this week that I don't want to go down there anymore until it's done, because the thing is so nice. The thing is so beautiful. We have that is happening. We have a development right next to it, across the street from it, called, I think, Belmont, that was done. Started under this administration and is now being completed. And some businesses that are opening there, because we've been able to attract some new businesses into Nevis. We have quite a significant number of the business people on St. Kitts at Port Zante and elsewhere who are now transitioning and coming to Nevis and opening businesses in Nevis as well. We have construction. This government put in place a concession package for construction, and we have homes being built the length and breadth of Nevis. Private homes by private individuals. Contractors are working. Plumbers are working. I spoke to a tileman the other day. The man told me he don't know what is going on, but he can't get rest. He said it's too much work. He can't handle it. I see the government through the Nevis House and Land Development Corporation. We're building homes simultaneously at Maddens, University Heights, Craddock Road, Hamilton. And you know what's happening? Tomorrow, Thursday, we're breaking ground for new development in my constituency, right there in Prospect. Simultaneously. All of this is happening. And so when I hear people say, oh, nothing happening, and during this whole pandemic, look at our public servants. Paid every month on time and in full. Our pensioners paid every month on time and in full. We must really look at how we manage this COVID situation. Invested in ambulances, invested in PPE, invested in necessary equipment. Look at how our people have gone above and beyond. And yet you have these natural neighbors of extreme negativity. They just sit down and they're not lifting a finger to help. I have said time and time again, and I'm going to keep saying it, in Trinidad and Tobago, Kamala, the leader of the opposition, is seen out there with her party picking up people to take them to get vaccinated. In St. Lucia, Philip Pear, while leader of the opposition and leader of the St. Lucia Labour Party, went to get vaccinated with his whole team. Now that he's in government, he has continued to ask the people of St. Lucia to get vaccinated. In Anguilla, Cora Richardson Hodge, the leader of the opposition in Anguilla, went on camera with the members of government in Anguilla to get her vaccine, so that the people can see that when it comes to lives and livelihoods, there is no room for politics, and that they're together. In Jamaica, the leader of the People's National Party, he stood up, Golden I think his name is, and he told Jamaicans, listen, go and get vaccinated. The Minister of Health, Tufton, sat with the shadow minister, that is the man in opposition charged with health, and together they did a joint program encouraging people to get vaccinated. You have a situation in the BVI, Marlon Penn, my good friend, is out there encouraging people. You hear any opposition in Nevis doing that? Let's be real. All they do is sit down all day and criticize. They know all who don't know what they do. They know all who this, but they themselves aren't doing anything to help. And that is the concern that I have. If you do something, you may make a mistake, but at least you're seeking to do good. But if all you do is sit down all day and criticize, and telling people you want to get in government. So if you get in government tomorrow, COVID gonna go away? You still have to deal with COVID. And the science shows that the best way to deal with COVID is a vaccine. So you're not now helping by encouraging people to get vaccinated, because as one of them said to me, then I get vaccinated for Mark Brantley. That's what a lady said. She not getting vaccinated for Mark Brantley. I did not know that I was COVID. So you have to say to our people, listen, it has to be more than just this constant criticism, no solution being offered, no program being offered, no help being offered. That is all. When you're in government, you don't have those luxuries, because opposition could talk and talk and talk. They've not got no responsibility, it appears. When you're in government, you have things to do. And I am persuaded that we have and continue to do, even in this difficult environment. Even in this difficult environment. We have a development that is starting at MUA now called Apsara. And I'm hoping that by the time the budget comes around, we'll have some other things to announce. Because we have never stopped working. And that, ladies and gentlemen, I believe is important and commendable, despite the nattering neighbors of extreme negativity who continue to talk about nothing happening. I don't know how to define nothing. I don't know how to define nothing. Where else in the Caribbean is the seniors getting free water and electricity? Where? Only in the island of Nevis. If you know someplace else, call in and tell me where. And that doing anything? Let's go back to the phones. 20 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock. You're on the mark.
Yes, Brother Brantley. I will have to look at your passport to see if your name changed to Mr. COVID.
Got to be.
It seems so. You touch on something there that I really want to talk about tonight. Now, if someone is aspiring to be a parliamentarian in a government, shouldn't they be encouraging people to do what is right and what is best for the country? A government is being elected to look after the whole country. That is the reason why King Miko sing the song and Mr. Amory, he find him guilty for all the good things he did for Nevis.
And he sentenced him to 5 more years?
Okay then. And hard labor too.
Yeah.
Now, I heard one politician who was aspiring to be in parliament saying that roads should not be priority, but the government responsibility is to build houses for people. No. Look the contrary there. When the government build houses for people, how they gonna walk to get in the house? The anchor gonna break up and the car suspension will mash up because there is no road for the car to drive and the people to walk. So some people should slow down and think before they open their mouth and criticize people.
But caller, stay with me a minute.
Yeah.
Because there's another point to it too. Who building the roads?
Okay.
Huh? So, they say, we shouldn't be building roads, but who building the roads? Nivision's building the roads.
Exactly.
The backhoe operators, the truckers, the engineers, right? The people building the walls, the contractors, they're all Nivision.
That's right.
Where the concrete coming from? Nivision concrete plants.
That's right.
So every road that is built here generates economic activity. Look at Joe Biden and his $1 trillion plan that he have there. What he say gonna do? Build roads, bridges, infrastructure. Because they understand that an investment in infrastructure and public infrastructure, if done by our own people, we not bring in a company here from Jamaica to take back out all the money,
Okay then.
Because when the NRP was there, every piece of road that was done in Nevis was done by a foreign company.
Alright.
We have said no. Our people have the ability. And we will not disrespect them to tell them go practice, learn how to drive.
Right.
That's what the Premier under NRP told the Nivision engineers. I don't know why I do. I come back here from school, I must go and practice, learn how to drive.
I remember that.
We say no, our people are as good as anybody else, give them the chance. Right. So when they say, you shouldn't build roads, my question is, who is building the roads? Our people.
That's right.
So what are you trying to say, our people shouldn't eat? The contractor shouldn't eat, the truckman shouldn't eat, the backhoe man shouldn't eat?
No.
And as you say, we must build a house. So we're going to build a house at the top of the mountain, how the person will get there? Parachute? They don't have to use roads to get there?
Exactly.
That is the kind of nonsense that come with, and that's what I say. Sit down all day and criticize. These remind me when man up in the pavilion never played their cricket yet. But when you're out there in the hot sun, they know every shot you play is a bad shot. Why you didn't bowl on the half stump? Oh, you need to bowl on middle and leg.
Yeah.
But them don't know how to bring over the hand. And that is the problem that I have with them. They know criticize, never could offer one solution. I mean, I hear them, for example, they attack the task force. I mean, good God in heaven. Not a soul knew a thing about COVID when COVID came.
Exactly.
We had some people who said, here am I, send me. And the government sent them. And they learn on the job and they learn as they go, because everybody was learning. And to attack these people like Hazel Laws and Cameron Wilkerson and Judy Nisbet and Brian Dye and these people, it is shameful.
Right.
Because these are people who have gone above and beyond. They didn't just sit down on their hands and say, we're COVID reach and we don't know what to do. They tried their best and they have kept us safe. And when I hear people attacking them, for what? For political mileage? What political mileage you get out of that?
Okay, that is how low and nasty they could get for political. Causing the people who are trying to help people to save their lives. Come on, people, so don't forget, send your passport, let me see if COVID in it, because it seems like you and the Prime Minister brought COVID to the country, and you all have the key for it, and the solution, when you're ready, you just drown it in the sea and everything good again. Oh, me not take no Timothy vaccine. Me not take no Mark vaccine. I mean, how ignorant people could be. And all because they were influenced by those who know better and should teach the people them the right thing to do. Brother Mark, I'll continue to listen. Good show.
All right, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. It is 23 minutes past the hour. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Yeah, good night again, Mark.
Yes.
Mark, you believe there's a God, right? You believe in God, right? And I know the Prime Minister of the House believes there's a God. I'm not just joining and say that believe there's a God. I know all the Caribbean leaders, them who facing this COVID with the government, believe there's a God. And none you are going to fully come and tell people to take vaccine and you are going to take none. You don't educate people, your people in business, saying that you are going to take the vaccine. You are going to take the vaccine. You are faking people. Because what? These people, they listening to all kind of fake news. People say all kind of nonsense to them about the vaccine. And all kind of different things. These people are children. They're the grandchildren. And, you know, the whole world situation, look at the whole world. Up to now, people still there. When I listen to the briefing today, well, we get them because only two, I think, we get the positive cases, you know, and that is good. Mark, let me tell you something, right? I know that you ain't welcome, the Prime Minister ain't welcome, and force them, the cabinet all are welcome, and force them people in the commentator on different talk shows, tell you to take the vaccine, and you haven't take water, or you haven't take something else, and you take the vaccine. So I want to put all the negative people out here, when they want to take the vaccine, and they happen to get COVID and they die. Mr. Politics is not a feeling for that one of them. And I will come to the funeral. You understand? Because we get a lot of ignorant people out here, that people just sending out garbage to them from the phone and they need it and they say, oh, this and that, oh, that. You say somebody there, because somebody is telling them that, no, so. Only you come, I mean, the vaccine kill somebody take the vaccine to them and they dead and they go without anything. Now, let me tell you something. All that complication, right? I allergic to sulfur. I cannot take no medication with sulfur in it. Because it can break up the skin and it can itch up the skin. You understand? And I think that everybody, the vaccine, you're going to do with everybody, Mark. You're going to do with everybody. Because certain medication against you. But if the vaccine is there to prevent it from them and to help the country, I feel so good when that's what we said today, that we make a terrible this year. We go back to the normal activities. I also feel so good to hear that. And business open up, chairship and perform, and the country open up. It's honestly that again, they're put down there, they're going to take on the bottom from down there, they take on the bottom from down there, because and people interact with the terrorism now. In a kind of way. So this is good. But you know, I was people almost for this child negative thing against it because they hate the country and they hate the government. And as far as I'm concerned, what I say is just a waste because I believe that if they say we 98% literate, I believe that we, the illiterate one them, then only minority. And I believe that the country can forward now with the youth, the government, and whoever. Just believe in God, and God will take us through. You have a good message, brother.
All right, thank you very much for that. And, you know, I think there's always the hint of politics because I'm a politician and we get into that. But I point out that on the single biggest issue of our time, the single biggest threat to St. Kitts and Nevis that we've seen in a century, COVID-19. And we see one side of the political divide, the government, trying its best. We see the government offering stimulus in different kinds, in different ways. Federal government offered a massive stimulus. The NIA benefited, the people of Nevis benefited from some of that. And then the NIA topped up by offering what it could with its meager resources. We see a revolution that has happened here in agriculture. Shade houses, young people getting involved in agriculture, using technology to increase yield, increase quality. I mean, I just below Hosford's here, they have something, I think they call it nature farms. We have A1, continues to expand. We have young Gager, Anthony Gager. We have the youngster there in Prospect, Paris. All of these youngsters, we have, of course, a veteran in Danny Atherton. All of these offering, responding. We have the Dynamo, who is the Deputy Premier and Minister of Agriculture. You know what he has done down in Doncaster? 35 acres of fruits. 35 acres of fruits. You must see it to be, you have to see it to believe it. Coconut, avocado, sugar apple, guava, I mean, you name it, it's down there. Tangerine, shaddock, orange. And this again is just the vision that is unfolding to make our people more self-sufficient. Response to the pandemic, you know what we do? We give fishermen free fish pot wire. Fishermen were so grateful that they came and they said they will reduce the price of fish that they sell. That is what we have been seeking to do here on Nevis in terms of our response. And then you just hear the constant, as I said, I don't mind, I was in opposition. And opposition is supposed to criticize, yes, but the best criticism is one which comes with a suggested alternative. But when you sit down and you start to cuss the task force, and oh, they don't this and they don't know anything about crisis management, and like you want somebody to manage crisis. This is the biggest crisis we have had in a century. Nobody, no book, nowhere could tell us how to deal with it. And look at where we are right now. Quarantined down to within 24 hours. We hope that we will be able to remove it altogether. We are moving in the right direction. And you would want to imagine how much farther ahead we could have been in this fight if the opposition was willing to hold hands with government and say, listen, let me go out and get everybody vaccinated. Let me go out and encourage people to take the vaccine, man. Let me get the country back working. We're going to fight on the politics, but on lives and livelihood, there is no need for this. So if people start to die, what do you think? It hurt the government? No, it hurts people. Because at the end of the day, this should be about people. It should be about us. But when the opposition is going to write to me a formal letter, tell me, you want partnership, go along with that. Go along with your business with that. We are not prepared to partner with you on this issue of vaccination for our people. That's what they did. So that tells me you can't care. You can't care. Eh? I hear some of them playing like Bo Peep. They leave one district where they live, they don't want nobody see them go to the health center where they live. So they gone in the farthest health center they could find. Go get their shot. Why? Because they don't want nobody know they get vaccinated. Why not? Why not? Let people know you got vaccinated. Encourage other people to get vaccinated if you care about people. And we all understand the science, because all the people who say they're running say they're brighter than everybody. They're brighter than the sun. Who not got doctor before the name, got doctor after the name. Them bright till bright can't done. If you see them coming up the road, you got to put on your shades, how they bright. So they know that the science is, and they know what the science says. They're no strangers to vaccination. In fact, I was told, because one of the candidates is a good family member of mine and trained as a vet, they said the amount of dog and cat she done vaccinate in she lifetime. But she not encourage the human being to vaccinate to save lives. But dog and cat. Vaccine. You have to ask what our priorities. And why on issues such as this, life and death, we can't take a page out of the book we see in Trinidad with Kamla, in St. Lucia with Philip Pay, in Anguilla with Cora Hodge, in BVI with Marlon Penn. We can't take a book out of Mark Golden Page in Jamaica. We here fighting against the government on the issue of vaccine. Sitting on the fence. Me not tell nobody take it. Me not tell nobody not take it. It's up to people. They must make up their own mind. No. You encourage people. That is like a Christian saying, me not tell you go to church. Me not tell you not go to church. It's up to you. No. If you're a servant of the Lord, encourage other people to serve the Lord. And then you're running and hiding, go take your own vaccine. No want nobody know that you get vaccinated. It is beyond comprehension. And that is why I think you have so much confusion over an issue that really is the obvious answer. The obvious answer. But you know what? We're not going to give up, We're not going to give up. The country now has gone past the 70% fully vaxxed. Nevis is not quite there. In fact, let me go on my phone here, because I like to keep things close at hand. And what I was told just tonight is that Nevis now is at 65%. So we are lagging behind the national average. But we're getting there slowly. Slowly but surely we're getting there. And we could have been much farther ahead. I continue to extend the hand of partnership to the opposition in Nevis. Let us do this together. Because we do not know who will be the next victim of COVID. It might be me. And it might be you. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Yes, Mr. Brantley, me again.
Yes.
Mr. Troy doing a very good job in agriculture.
Alexis Jeffers, not Troy.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then Troy is who? Okay, somebody else.
Yes.
Okay, the one, Evelyn is the environment minister.
Yes.
Well, I'm asking him please to come down and let the inspectors them get up from behind the desk, because I think it needs cleaning. And you have some nice roads. I see you are 95 saying about it. Mm-hmm. So don't cross over, walk on them.
All right, my dear. Ladies and gentlemen, this is On the Mark. I'm your host, Mark Brantley. I keep checking my telephone because people are sending messages. People are telling me, you forget to talk about this and you forget to talk about that. Look at what we've been doing in the country. Here's the Brandy Williams, our Minister of Health, and the work that she has been doing in health. Ambulances. Imagine in the height of COVID, Nevis get 2 brand new ambulances at the same time. Never happened before in our history. Never happened before in our history. 2 brand new. No, I'm not talking about 2 used, 2 brand new. Not 2 refurbished, 2 brand new. Or some may say new brand. In the height of this COVID pandemic, we have secured 3 brand new buses, school buses, and we have another one on the way for free. for free from the Winsong Foundation. Look at what is happening. We've been able to go out, secure PCR testing, the equipment. We are only being delayed now because of the technical people that need to come in to set up. And we're waiting patiently on them so they can set up and we can do testing right here on Nevis. We, ladies and gentlemen, have made some massive strides in this island here because we decided as our response to COVID we will not lie down and play dead. We will not lie down and play dead. We're not going to let or help COVID kill us. And so Nevis has responded. Have we got everything right? No, we have not. And who does? Only one person I'm aware of ever walked this earth who got everything right was Jesus Christ. And even he they crucified. Let me say that again. The only person I know that walked this earth that got everything right was Jesus Christ. And even he they crucified. So we expect the criticism. But all I'm saying is, if we truly love this little island and this country, then bring your resources, your intellect to bear. And then those come and say, oh, watch he chup it, look what he do. Say how you could do it better. I hear one of them say they don't want to give us ideas. Well, if you don't want to give us ideas, they're not going to talk about their ideas because they don't want to give the government ideas. Well, that means the electorate also doesn't know what your plans are. They don't know what you're capable of. They know you're capable of criticizing. Anybody could do that. As I said, you could stay in the pavilion all day and criticize the people on the field of play. That's easy. And that is what I'm talking about. People who are willing to roll up their sleeves and get to work to engage with and assist the development of the country. And when a government, because you know there's some governments who say they're not talking to no opposition, they're not me. I extended my hand. I had a meeting in my office with Janice Hodge, the leader of NRP, and with my good friend Cleon Stapleton Simmons, the representative for St. Thomas's. And I tell people, and I'm ashamed to say so, I was begging them to join the effort in relation to vaccination. I said to them, there's no politics in this. Let us hold hands on this. And I wasn't ashamed to tell somebody the other day. I said the only thing I didn't do was get down on my knees and beg. That's the only thing I didn't do was get down on my knees. I begged, but I didn't go down on my knees. And I said to them, listen, we are all in this together. We are Nevisians. We must all be interested in saving Nevis. And whoever is sitting in the Premier's chair tomorrow, that's a matter for the people and for God. They still have to deal with COVID. So let us hold hands, let us join hands and fight this thing together. And I thought that they understood and it was a good meeting. Then after I get this, we are not going to partner with you. End the story. Why? Why? Why couldn't we have a joint press conference and encourage people to get vaccinated? Instead of that, every medium criticize. You're not doing this well enough. You're not doing enough of that. I hear people, for example, keep talking about the government needs to give people more money. The government needs more stimulus. The government needs to spend. And I ask the question, which I do again tonight rhetorically, where is the money to come from? It is empty, vacuous chatter. Makes no sense whatsoever. The economy is on lockdown. Hotels barely surviving. Hotel sector being our most dominant engine in the architecture of our economy. Your engine offline. That means the government revenue is demonstrably and dramatically down. But by way of criticism of the government, they say, oh, the government should spend more. What the government need to give out more money, give more people money. Where's the money to come from? They tell you that, and then they turn around and tell you, oh, the debt going up. Watch them, they're running up the debt. Trying to hold fire and water in the same hand. It does not work. And I think sensible people can tell the difference between a government that is trying its level best to deal with an unprecedented challenge, a 100-year challenge, which is COVID-19, and people who are out there just talking because they got mouth to talk. Let's go back to the phones. 20 minutes left. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Yes, Brother Mark, you're right on target with those comments you just make there. A lot of them people, there wasn't what you call a snake. A snake got two prongs in the mouth that you shove out as tongue. One on the left, one on the right. In the morning, upon one different radio station, tearing down the whole Federation government and the nearest island administration government, tearing them down. There is nothing bad that left for them to say about the government. But then in the night now, on a different program, you're going to hear them coming and talking. They're talking hard, but in front of them out shut. So they're only talking in the roof of them out. And trying to give an impression like they like the government. When the government help them, this unity government, since they get into office, they get all the help they want because they had prepared property, their land, and with the only thing was missing from the land was the monkey them in the tree. And the government helped them to put on a structure upon the land. They get in this from they get the package, whichever package the government has to give out, they get out of that. And they are the ones who come in talking about, oh, the government no give no money, we want to give more money. How are you going to give more money if nothing coming in? And they don't understand. The quicker they take the vaccination, then the money will come in quicker and more money. Then the government will be able to improve on what they are doing. But you see, they can't see that because they're so ungrateful. They're worse than the word ungrateful. And the worse than witchcraft. They're following those who want to mash up the government just to get into office by chatting foolishness and fooling them. And they realize it. That they don't want to take the vaccine, like you said, from the farthest point of the country. And they went like Nicodemus, boy, no, you can take the vaccine. And then they come home when the sun shining and telling you don't do it and all kind of thing because the guy in water and they believe in them. And people, when you find an empty garbage pan, you throw all kind of trash, rubbish and garbage in there. And a lot of them using the head and the ear as garbage pan. I want you please order some quick pack. Eno, because we got a crazy individual down here. Definitely need Eno. So when you get it, let me know, so I could send some for the individual. Good night, Brother Mark.
All right, thank you very much for that. Thank you.
Yes.
It is 10:15, and as I said, I'm checking my phone because I'm getting some very interesting messages that I keep looking at and commenting where I can. But somebody just sent me a message, and you know what they said? Remember the land title. And I said to the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, the Minister of Lands here in Nevis the other day, that we haven't spoken about this quite enough. We haven't spoken about it quite enough. The Cherry Garden community was built by the NRP. Beautiful community, beautiful people. But they built the homes and they put a lot of people into the homes under some kind of arrangement where the people are paying the corporation, sometimes for 20, 30 years. Only one thing, the people don't have any title. No title. The title for many of those homes remains in the name of the corporation. So if God forbid one of those people were to perish, pass away tomorrow, they got nothing in their will they could leave, because they don't own nothing. They are, if you will, a tenant. And yes, they're paying towards ownership, but they're paying over 30 years. And in the interim for those 30 years, they don't hold a piece of paper. We came in with a program. We said, listen, forget about waving your key. Anybody could hold a key. We want you to waive your title. Because when you have a title, you have value. When you have a title, your property appreciates. You get the benefit of that appreciation. When you have a title, you have something that you can leave in your will for your picnic and your grand picnic. When you have a title, you can go to the bank and you can say to the bank, listen, I owed 100,000. I'm now down to 50. I have some equity here. My daughter going off to university now. I want a 25,000 using my title. When you have a key, what are you going to do? Show the bank your key? The key could get you a loan? So they're putting on, where your keys, where your keys. We say no, where your title, because we are about real empowerment for people. And we developed a scheme in Cherry Gardens where people were able to go to the banks, get a mortgage. We transferred everything. They got their title and they got a significant discount, I think 20% off the price. That's what we did for people. We have a whole set of people right now, and the story must be told. A whole set of people right now in the Nugent Heights area. Down there, Pinny's area. You all know where Nugent Heights is as you go up the bypass road. Those properties on the left. And a large number of those people, you guess what? They have no title. Now hear what happened. When Vance Ammer and the CCM were in office, they acquired Pinny's estate. They then turned around and they sold Pinny's estate. They acquired it, I believe it was for $10 million US. They then turned around and sold it for $22.5 million US, of which they got $10 million as a down payment. Follow me carefully. They put the $10 million in Scotia Bank. And if you know Van Sam, you know Van Sam is a very wise financial planner. Very wise. I don't believe we've had a better minister of finance or man handling the financial reins of this country better than Van Samry. And so he put $10 million in the bank. That is what you call vacative. That is to say, if anything were to happen, you could pay off Trinidad right away. And then, guess what happened? CCM lose the election. NRP come in. NRP collect the balance of 12.5 million US. Remember I said sell it for 22.5, you know. Right? NRP then sold off all the lands up in Nugents. NRP then found a way to take the 10 million that was in the bank and spend that too. And guess what? Them no pay the Trinidad people, you know. The money was borrowed, I believe they call unit trust from Trinidad. Them no bother pay back nothing. So we get him now, and we asking the people in Trinidad. The people in Trinidad say, hey, partner, we're not going to allow anybody to get a title up in Nugents unless we get our money. You know what I tell you? So people up there have paid for land years ago, cannot get their title because the mortgage holder in Trinidad on the land said them not do nothing to lift no mortgage for nobody to get no title because them not get the money. So since we have been in office, we have been paying monthly to try and get that burden off of our backs. And then most recently, you know what started to happen? People now start to say to the government, we want back our money with interest because all these years we can't get a title. That is the kind of mess that we're left with. I am currently, as the finance minister and Premier name, is dealing with a situation down here in West Haven. Again, the NRP went take the people property compulsory acquisition. Never paid one red dime. Well, with the value and the interest and all of that now, poor little Neve has got to find now $20-something million to pay for 2-point-something acres of land there at West Haven. Legacy. All across the island. I have a gentleman calling me. All daily on a daily basis he's calling, wants to resolution. NRP take the man land on Jessop's Bay. Never paid him a farden. Never paid him a farden. Not a penny they paid the man. They take land from people up here in Government Road. Never paid a penny. All across this land they take land, take land, take land. Never paid a penny. And when we got in now, we had to deal with this problem. Over in Cohoons, we take Sadio them land, never paid a penny. And all those people up and down there in Nugent's Heights, all those lots of lands there sold years ago, people can't get a title. And people are getting frustrated, and I understand why, because people did nothing wrong. If I take out my $100,000 and I buy a lot of land from the government, I should be able to get my title. Some of them have paid off loans and up to now can't get a title. Because the NRP use half the money and not pay unit trust. I want you to think about that, Think about that. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, on the mark. Hello?
Hello, good evening. Is this a live show?
It's a very live. You're live and lively. Everybody hearing you.
I thought this was 10 years ago, man.
You thought it was 10 years ago?
Yeah.
What happened? You just wake up?
No, I was checking to see if it's live.
Oh, okay.
How we still living in the past. Have a good night.
All right. Well, thank you for that. But if you don't know your past, I don't know how you're going to move forward. Your past is always very important, brother. That is why you don't repeat it. If you live and have heard about the Jewish people, you would know. They never forget their past. And I would suggest to you that you don't forget yours, because those who forget might make the mistake and put back the same sanctimonious vagabonds to put this country back in the mess that they created. So I'm happy that you now wake up and you realize that 10 years ago, what we're trying to say is that we ought not to repeat those mistakes of the past. Because up to now, we have not had a reckoning. People have not come to the public and said, listen, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for all that was done. I'm sorry for the insults heaped upon our own people. Imagine, caller, glad you wake up. Imagine that a premier of Nevis, a sitting premier of Nevis, when asked the question, why are all the major works, civil works, roads, etc. in the island being given to a foreign company? You know what he said? When Nevisian youngsters go away to study engineering and surveying and those things, when they come back, they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing. And as the leader of our people, his advice to them was to go and practice, learn how to drive. Now, I want you to reflect, Rumpelstiltskin, since you say you just wake up, that a Nevisian from Jessop's from Craddock Road went to Jamaica, to the Mona campus of the University of the West Indies, or went to Trinidad, to the St. Augustine campus and did engineering. In class next to him was a brother from Barbados and another brother from Jamaica doing the same engineering. The Nevisian from Craddock Road or Jessop's comes back to his Nevis. He can't be put in charge of any project because he don't know what he's doing. He must go practice, learn how to drive. But hear what? His colleague from Jamaica, who sit on the same class with him, come down and is the project manager, is the chief engineer, chief surveyor, quantity surveyor, civil engineer, on the same project, because he come from foreign, so that means he better. I want you to reflect on that before you go back to sleep. Reflect on that. And here you have a situation where a leader is saying to his own people, you're not good enough. Because that is exactly what is being said. You are not good enough in your own country. You don't know what you're doing. Practice. Learn how to drive. All to justify that all the money going to a foreign company. We got in. You know what we say? Let the engineers and surveyors of public works do the work. That's where they trained. Put them to work. And look at Hanley's Road. Look at Braziers. Look at my beloved Brownhill. Look at the highway. Not because the customs say we build walls as high as Fort Knox. Look at Brownhill. Look at Butlers when it is done. Look at Shaw's Road. Just look around. Look at all that we're doing in Charlestown. Done by us, for us, with our expertise, our money, our trucks, our backhoes, our engineers. Divisions being put to work for the benefit and the development of the island of Nevis. That, my friend, is what you call leadership. It's 5 minutes to the hour. You can go back to sleep now. And if you like, wake up in another 10 years. And if I'm here and you tune in, you will hear the same thing being said. That a country must have leadership that respects the people and that is there to advance the people, not denigrate and insult them and tell them they're less than. No. No. So, people up at Nugent and thing, they want the title. You know what we've had to do? We are now looking to see if we can borrow money, pay off Trinidad, find some land somewhere else to use as security so that we can free up the parent title so that our Nivision brothers and sisters could finally get a piece of paper for their land. That's what we're seeking to do. That's what we've been forced to do. Right now, we've had a series of meetings with the Nisbet family for Restaven and their lawyers. You know what those meetings are about? How we can manage to pay them what we owe them. Tens of millions of dollars for 2 acres of land taken by the NRP and not paid for. That is what we've had to grapple with. So when they come and you hear them start to say, oh, this and that, and they have all the answers to all the things, you must ask them what they have done to this country. And you must look at the difference in terms of performance and what we are now seeking to do. And see who ultimately has put the people of this island first and foremost. Front, back and center. The CCM has promoted the people of Nevis. And along the way, we've provided opportunity for everyone. Everyone. Non-nationals. Eric, Evelyn, Alexis and I were having some breakfast in Sinkis the other day. A non-national came there. He's a national now, but originally from Ghana. Came and he spoke to us and told us of his personal ordeal. When to get a work permit, you think you could go to the work permit office to get a work permit under NRP? No, you couldn't do that. You had to go to a family member of one of the ministers. And he, when the work permit cost $2,000, you had to pay he $10. And he then will get the work permit for you. Well, that is should be jail work. Huh? He not in the work permit office, you know, he don't work in government. But you had to go to him to get a work permit from the government as a non-national. Sanctimonious vagabonds. The band has struck up. I thought I had another 2 minutes, but the clock says no. And the lady at the controls here is so serious, you can't even beg her for more time. So ladies and gentlemen, that's our show. It is good to be back. God willing, I may not be here next week because, again, of some travels that I have to do. But the way I'm hearing people talk about Eric and Alexis and Troy, I don't even know if they want me to come back, to be honest, because those fellas do such a wonderful job. Thank you to them. The band is playing louder. It means that it is time for me to depart. I want to wish everyone a wonderful night. I want to thank you for tuning in this evening. And I want you to have a pleasant night. Pray that God will watch over all of us and that we may, with His grace and mercy, rise to see a new day tomorrow. Good night and God bless you.
and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its